Welcome to a new episode of You Can Sit With Us. Pete, do not laugh at me when I'm trying to do my very serious intro.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. And if you're new here, basically what we do is almost every week, I present to you someone who I consider to be a hero that lives amongst us. And these are all people who are active in very different strands and fields within different industries. It could be from health to education, policy, politics, activism, you name it, creating safe spaces, they're doing it. And we've had people from Parliament, we've had people within the NHS, we've had founders of mental health care organizations, founders of Black Girl Festival, creating safe spaces. And today I present to you also someone I consider a friend, but a man who has also done quite a few things in the 7 or 8 years I've known him. And we're going to talk through all of them. Peigh.
Hello. Hi.
Thank you for doing this. Just to give you a little insight on why and when we started this is, after the tragedy of George Floyd's murder and all the protests and kind of like the uproar that came from that, I was very happy and excited to see younger people get so involved and trying to seek knowledge and looking for information and equip themselves, which is great. But what I also found a little bit nerve-wracking was that a lot of that information was found or sourced via their favorite influencers on social media who are doing a great job when they're speaking up on things, but maybe don't always have the right information or the right kind of sources themselves.
Yeah, I can see that.
So what we're doing now every week is we're not telling you what the truth is, but we're speaking to different people who make waves in their own micro ecosystems and who have a specific knowledge on a specific topic. And what we want to do is by the end of a session, the goal is that someone has either learned, unlearned, or is questioning something. And so the whole goal is we want to provide people with the tools to make decisions and form opinions of their own. Does that make sense? Yes.
It makes the world of sense. I was losing you a bit there. Your reception was getting a bit sketchy, you know what I mean?
Oh, okay. Did you hear me all right?
Yeah, I heard it. I got the important kind of pull out quotes and the sound bites that I needed to out of that monologue.
Okay, well, if it happens again, do let me know and I might just have to move. But we start the session the same every time. So today's no different. Tell us who you are and what do you do?
Okay, hi everyone. Hi listeners. My name is Peigh Asante and I'm a freelance creative, professional plate spinner, if you will. Just to kind of elaborate on that a bit more, I work in advertising as a freelance creative. I have a swimming club called Swim Them Crew, and I have a fruit business called Track Fruits London.
I've moved to the living room. No more dodgy internet.
No more dodgy internet.
Shall we start from the beginning? Because you've mentioned kind of 4 things that you do. 3-4 things that you do, but obviously you didn't just wake up one day and had the fruit business and you had Swim Them and you were a freelancer. How did this all kind of get to where you are now?
You know what? Great question. So I think, how did I get to where I am now? I think I'm quite inquisitive, and I'm like, I like to just try different things, and I think that kind of all started from when I was a kid in school. I just like try different stuff. I'd get bored quite easily, and I've got quite an inquisitive mind. I'm like, oh, what's that? And I'm always questioning stuff and interrogating stuff, and I'll just try stuff out and chuck myself into stuff. And I think, which is why I've got this kind of like mantra that I live by called "learn by doing." And which is in no way an antithesis to rule books or how-to guides or anything like that. But it's just like there's no better teacher than experience itself, right? So I think the first time I realized that I was doing that consciously was music. I was like, I didn't, hold on 1 minute, yeah? My door's knocking, 1 moment.
I'm gonna pause, don't worry.
Pause. So, yeah, as I was saying, I think the first time I kind of realized that was music, it was like, in school, I didn't really there wasn't a thought that was like, oh, right, you know, a strategic thought that was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to write bars. I'm going to make my music video. No, it was just like, just try it, you know, just kids just messing around, trying it. You know, I think when we started, it was like just in our estate. And then you go from the estate to the kind of like the local fair or whatever it is. And then you go from that, and then you go to like pirate radio. It's like, oh my God, pirate radio. And, you know, all of these things. And you got to realize, like, those times people don't know what you look like. They just hear your voice. You know what I mean? So, and there was a power in that as well. So, because then it made you, it pushed you creatively, you know, like, what can I do creatively, you know, sonically, that will make me recognizable? You know, is it that I'm going to have a recognizable 8-bar? Is it that I'm going to have like some recognizable sound effects? Is it that I'm going to have some, I don't even know, some voice pitching in my voice or whatever it might be, you know what I mean? So that's kind of what it was early. I think that was the first time where I was like, oh shit, I'm literally just trying shit out, just like learning on the job, just figuring it out, you know?
Yeah.
So like that there stuck with me throughout everything I've done, you know? So that same sentiment is kind of what got me into Swimdem. It started my journey in Swimdem, you know? And so maybe I can talk a bit on that. So how I even got into Swimdem and how Swimdem even started for me.
Yeah, because I remember just like I met you obviously in the clubbing scene in East London, and I when I met you, you were known amongst all our friends and people who introduced me to you as a key figure in the London music industry scene.
Yeah, yeah.
And all of a sudden, fast forward a couple of years, I'm seeing Swimdem pop up everywhere, which really stood out for me because I'm born and raised in Amsterdam. So swimming is taught at a very young age because
Right.
we're in a city with canals. So it's key. It's taught in school as well.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that a lot of my friends here in London didn't know how to swim. And that I always thought that was really weird. But as I got older and I was traveling more, you know, whenever I would go to New York or I'd go to San Francisco, I was like, none of my friends here, especially like my ethnic friends, don't know how to swim.
Yeah.
And the more I started seeing Swimland pop up everywhere and then finding out that you were behind it, I just thought, this is really important, but I also want to know why.
How that jump. Yeah. All right. So yeah, you know, like you said, we met on the music scene. I was doing music. I'd finished university. I signed a music publishing contract. So my job was music, you know. I was touring and writing and recording for like 2 years, you know. That was my job. And we had 2 studios that we worked out of. We had one on Curtin Road in Shoreditch, which is obviously now a block of flats. And we had one in Parsons Green where our publishers were. And it was in the one in Shoreditch where we were kind of obviously spending a lot more of our time just like hanging out, recording. It was next door to a warehouse space that was called Cordy House that everyone would go and rave and enjoy themselves. And you know, I just started to like, you know, I was a bit more heavier than I am now. And I thought, oh, I'll just go for like a 1 mile run around my block, right? And I met my friend after a night out, right? And she, let me big her up, Radha. So I met Radha. You know, she's doing amazing stuff now. She managed Skepta, Mabel, amazing stuff. At the time, she was managing Melee.
Wicked DJ.
Yeah, she's a DJ. Yeah, wicked DJ. She used to have a night called Bounty with Martello and Kevin. So I met Radha at a night out, and we were on a drive home. And then we just got talking, and she's like, "Oh yeah, running. I'm go running." I was like, "Running." So I was like, "Oh, I just started running. I can run a mile." She's like, "Oh, you should come to this thing, Run Them Crew, yeah." And I was like, "What's that?" And then I was like, "Okay, fine, I'm gonna come." And I didn't really have an excuse because it was literally across the road from our studio. So she's like, "I'll just come grab you in the studio and we'll go there." I went to Run Them for the first time. We ran from Shoreditch to Elephant and Castle and back. You know what I mean? And listen, I'm a South boy, so for me to run in Elephant and Castle, that's a big deal. I was like, "Whoa, oh my God." I ran to Elephant Castle, me, you know, big P, fat P. Like that.
Far.
Wow. Anyway, when I got home, I just text everyone in my phone book, my mom, everyone was like, "Oh my God, I ran to Elephant and Castle, I can't believe it." So I was gassed. So that became like a thing for me, you know. I got the running bug, you know what I mean? And I just ran. And then what happened was, there was a moment in my running career, I guess, if you want to call it that, where I took on a challenge to run a half marathon every single month. Because a friend of mine, she was doing it, her mum had cancer, or I can't remember if it was her mum or dad. One of her parents had cancer. She wanted to raise money and was like, "Look, I'm going to raise money and awareness by running a half marathon every single month as a challenge." you know, I was just so gassed on running. I said, fuck it, I'm gonna join you on that. So, sorry, can I swear?
No.
Sorry. So I said, F it, I'm gonna join you on that. So off I went, I joined her on it. And, you know, there were some months where we would run 2 in a month. So like my body wasn't really getting time to kind of like taper. Yeah. You know, I'd be in the taper going down and then, you know, like bang, I have to go back up again. So I think it took its toll on my body, and I got to October and I got injured at Royal Park's half marathon. And yeah, when I got injured, I don't know, I don't want to throw the word depression around, but I kind of got in a bit of a dark place, you know, because I thought, oh my God, I've let down, you know, Alex, the lady's name's Alex, her mom, her parents, everyone that's supporting us, myself, everyone. I thought, oh my God, I've let them down, all these people down. And on top of that, running was my vice. Do you know what I mean? That was my therapy at the time. So it was like, wow, I've lost that as well. So I kind of just went like that. You know what I mean? I went insular, you know, and I was just smoking lots of weed, eating lots of chicken and chips, you know what I mean? And then you know, it was just unhealthy. Yeah. And then, you know, the new year turned over. And, you know, as you do, everyone's like, new year, new me, I'm going to make a change or whatever. But it wasn't until like January 20-something, like 21st. Yeah, and then I was like, right, come on, Pete, sort yourself out. Went to the doctor referred me to the physiotherapy, got an injection in my knee, all of this. Then the physiotherapy said, hey, you're going to have to swim to help the rehabilitation. And I said, my mans, I don't know how to swim. Look at me, you know, I did lean into that stereotype a bit. And he was like, well, and then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it, you know? And I literally just chucked myself in at the deep end. I just went and I taught myself. And again, that's when the second thing was like, oh, I'm doing learn by doing again, you know? I'm just like, just letting experience just lead the way. And so I was doing that.
How old were you when you taught yourself how to
27.
swim? 27.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, 27. It was late. And so I was doing that. And then I don't know why. I was like losing weight. My body was changing. I was getting more confident in the water. And I got gassed and I was like, I'm going to do a triathlon. And I had never even been in open water before. You know what I mean? But because of the way my brain's wired, I'm just like, yeah, I'll give it a try. Why not? What's the worst that can happen? You know what I mean? Because the worst thing you can do is think, what if? I hate that feeling. So I said, all right, I'm going to go for it. But in training for that triathlon, I would cycle from where I live in South London to East London to London Fields Lido. And then that's when I'd see Nathaniel and Emily swimming there. And I was like, okay, there's people like me swimming. Wow. So Nathaniel and Emily, who I founded Swim Them Crew with, for anyone listening who doesn't know, I think he's just throwing names around. So yeah, I would see Nathaniel and Emily there. And I was like, okay, wow, there's people like me swimming too, because all I was seeing in my local swimming baths was mums and babies and over 60s. So I saw like Nathaniel and I saw Emily. I was like, wow, okay. So then we started swimming together for like a year, solid, just us three. And then it was like, people was like, hey, can I swim with you? And we were like, yo, this ain't even a thing. And then it was like, those two kind of, it was really those two who kind of wanted to make it a thing. I wasn't really keen on that because I was a bit of a bad swimmer. And yeah, we made it a thing. And fast forward 7 years, here we are. And we've got this amazing, beautiful, enriching community. You know what I mean? So
talk me through when these people started saying, hey, I want to swim with you guys. Who were these people? Why did they want to swim with you? What was it that drew people?
You know what it is? Listen, I think the real honest answer to that is they just saw themselves in me and us. You know, they just saw themselves in us. They thought, hold on a minute, P's a little bit overweight. He's taught himself to swim. You know, he's kind of like, you know, left his ego behind and he's just like throwing himself into it. You know, Nathaniel's there, Emily's there. They're like, okay, this feels fresh. This feels representative of London and the people that, you know. So I think that is why, you know, I think it felt accessible. You know, it didn't feel like a not a stuffy swimming club, or sorry, not for want of a better word, a traditional swim club. You know, that might have been a bit insular and not so inclusive. You know what I mean? So I think that's why. You know.
How did you go from maybe like a handful, like 5, 6, 7, 8 people to then, I believe you guys have even had like waiting lists or something?
Yeah.
How does that happen? How does it actually, or logistically, how does running Swim Them Crew work? Like, what do I imagine your week?
Right. Okay. Yeah. So, all right, let me give you a bit of a lowdown. So we run 4 sessions a week. So we run Monday nights at London Aquatic Centre. So those are sessions where we have 2 lanes. Nathaniel leads 1 lane, I lead another lane. So the Monday sessions are for people who can swim, competent swimmers who just want to get better. Just want improvement on their technique, improvement on their strokes, want to get better times. So Nathaniel and I will write sets, and they'll work their way through those sets each week. So I'll take a more of an intermediate group. Nathaniel will take the more advanced group. Yeah. So we have those 2 lanes on a Monday night. Then on a Thursday night, we have a complete learn to swim beginner session. Again, held at London Aquatic Centre. So, but that's not in the competition pool, the 50-meter pool. It's in the training pool, which is 25 meters, and you can stand up in it. Yeah. So that's those sessions. Both Nathaniel and I are present. Actually, we alternate weeks, actually, and I'll explain to you why in a second. Those sessions are for people who cannot swim. They have a fear of water, or, they can't travel through water, or, they've never even ventured into water, or they've just had a kid, or they're about to go on holiday with their family next year and they want to be able to jump off the boat. Those are the people we find there on Thursdays, right? And what happens is, so those courses are like a 12-week course. What happens is people kind of graduate that 12-week course, but they don't feel totally confident enough to join the Monday session, right? So then we're like, okay, we're going to have like an interim, kind of almost like a bridging session, So a bridging session to get you from, you've just done learn to swim, but you don't feel quite confident enough to go in like the deep water, 3 meters deep, it's 50 meters long. You're not that quite confident. So we have kind of like almost like a bridging session, okay? And that bridging session happens on a Wednesday at Mile End. So those are people who know how to swim now, but it's about just building up their confidence and time spent in the water.
Yeah.
But then it's almost like a bit of a graduation. So then when they graduate from that, they'll graduate to Monday. Right. Again, that is, so we only have 1 teacher there, so it'll either be mostly myself, actually, or Nathaniel will alternate weeks. Then on Saturdays, we have just a bit of so all of those sessions I mentioned, we hire pool space, people pay a membership fee to come and do that, or they pay for their classes, whatever it might be. On Saturday, we host like just an open social session, So Saturday is just an excuse to get out of the house. It's an excuse to get out of the house. It's an excuse to hang out with your mates. It's an excuse to have some brunch. It's an excuse to meet some new faces, visit some new pools. That is kind of the core community aspect of it, is that Saturday swim, right? So we don't hire any lanes there. So we are in the public lanes. So sometimes it does get a bit hectic, but those are kind of, that is what Swimden was built on, the Saturday swim. You know what I mean? Those sessions that I just mentioned after were kind of came after the kind of core initial Saturday swim and brunch with your mates. You know what I mean? So that is how Swimden works. Okay, on a kind of a base level, these are the sessions. This is what we do. Outside of that, of course, there is work with like brand partnerships and organizations and talks and lots of other things. So, I think there's kind of 2 jobs to be had there. There's like us working on the business, so like the partnerships, the whatever it might be, but then there's also working in the business, as in coaching and teaching and, looking after the merch, whatever it might be, so that's Swimden as a whole.
And you said, and there's a reason why you and Nathaniel alternate. Why is that?
Well, because otherwise it gets a lot for sessions a week, us doing 4 sessions a week. So we alternate so that we both do 3 sessions a week.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, because 4 sessions a week would kill us. We would absolutely die. We got some social life.
And if I'm sure you have loads of like testimonials from people who've been with Swimline crew or had been at some point. Yeah. What have people told you that they have gotten out of it, other than learning how to swim, obviously?
Yeah.
What did people leave with outside of the skill of swimming?
Great question. I think what it does for a lot of people is and not to sound so wanky and self-serving, but it enriches their lives. I think a lot of people, I kind of liken it, I've said it before, but I liken it to like a Pokemon gym. People come in Charmander and leave Charizard. You know what I mean? It's like people come in and then they kind of get this self-belief, you know, and it's like self-empowerment and like, yeah, man, I can do this, you know. Swimming kind of gives them that. Swimming gives them that belief. They're like, wow, okay, I'm in this job that I don't really like. Why not? I'm going to go and do that thing that I really want to like, that makes me happy. You know, I'm in this relationship that I don't really like. I'm going to go and, you know, leave this relationship and go and continue and living my life the way I wanted to live it, you know, or, you know, I didn't like the way I looked or whatever. And now I appreciate my body and the way I look and I'm more self-confident and all of this. So a lot of it, you know, I think swimming is just a vehicle for self-empowerment.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Have there been any friendship that really came to exist because of Swim Them Crew?
Loads. I think a lot. You know, there's you know, we've had housemates come together through Swim Them. We've had you know, people get together from Swim Them.
Romances? Are there Swim Them romances?
We've had Swim Them romances. We've had BBFs, like Swim Them best mates and stuff. Like some of my best mates and Swim Them. Like I got a bromance with my mate Josh. That just solely came from Swim Them. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, it has afforded us a lot of opportunities and friendships and partnerships that otherwise wouldn't have existed without it. You know,
yeah.
I think the community did definitely fostered that.
And let's touch on the brand partnership side that you already mentioned and that I am also aware of. And I think this is something where we have, you know, we live in a time where everyone can start something, you know, whether that's a charity or some sort of community or organization, whatever. But, you know, there's levels to things. And some people sit more on the complete left or like, let's say the right side, which is very traditional. Then we have people who are completely left and it's pure like activism and it's not money driven at all. And then you have people somewhere in the middle where it's a little bit of everything. It's and community, but it's also lifestyle and culture and it's young and it's fresh. And there's a little bit of money in there. And there's also just, you know, and I feel like you guys kind of navigate that middle, that center very carefully. And I think you've also kind of learned on the job. You've been trying to figure it out as you go along.
Yeah.
And brand partnerships is a key part of that. I've worked in brand partnerships for years. And I also know no one is stupid. Everyone's aware why people do things, and it's not dirty anymore. It's not something that we have to hide. If anything, we look at it as an opportunity to amplify voices and also to push a little money into that community. If you can, if you can get some money of a brand that you rock with anyways, why not? Exactly. So tell me how you've used brand partnerships for Swim Them Crew and what you've learned during these projects.
I think one of the earliest ones we did was we did a project in 2015 where in collaboration with ex-Blue Peter presenter Ayo Akinware, and what we did, and with other swim teachers as well, like big up Harley and Danielle, what we did was we took a group of, you know, non-swimmers, like just like, I think in the end there was about 11 or 12 of them who had no idea how to swim for like 4 months. We coached them up, taught them how to swim. At the end of that, they went and did a mile open water swim in Manchester, in Salford Keys. Yeah, so it was really like full circle, like from zero to then going into swimming a mile open water. And what's nice about that is one of the guys, actually, Kai, he did that course with us and did that program with us and actually trained to be a swimming teacher. So to even give back in, it went a complete circle. And what was nice is that Speedo were kind of, I guess, the brand partner for that particular activation, if you will. I mean, it was like a 4-month long thing. So I don't know if you could call it an activation, but that 4-month long program, they were the brand partner for that. And kind of, so that was, I guess, the first time where I was like, okay, cool. This is doing for good, because now we've just taught 11 people how to swim. Not only that, they've gone and swam open water. So then, you know, these are a lot of mental barriers and mental challenges that they're going to have to face. That would then just help them in life anyway. You know what I mean? Outside of the water, outside of anything aquatic, it's like that will arm them with tools that they can use in life, period, right? And then to have someone that we've done that with go full circle to then go and be a swim teacher, to then teach other people is like, wow, you can't even write that. You know what I mean? You can't even pay for that sort of shit. So, sorry, you can't even pay for that sort of stuff. So that's when it's cool. We did something with Nike as well, where we were able to offer free swimming lessons, again, on a bit of a smaller scale for like during half term. So that was cool. So yeah, there's always opportunities like that. I think we're doing something with Puma at the moment, where, you know, we've just got some money to kind of, again, do the similar sort of thing. So yeah, I think when we can kind of pour back into the community in that way, I think it's great. You know, I think why not? You know,
How do you know how to negotiate these numbers? Or
I still don't, man. I think there's never. I think you could probably talk to the biggest person, and they'll still say, "Oh man, you know, you never know," because you're always gonna have that feeling like, "Damn, I should have asked for more." You know, if you ask for something and they go, "Yeah, sure," and you're like, "Wow, they said yes so quick. Damn, I should have asked for more." Or, you know, you're always scared like, "Shit, I don't want to lose the bag by saying too much." All of this, that doesn't escape you. You know, that doesn't escape you. It's always hard to navigate that. You know, I don't think that will ever go. I don't think anyone on planet Earth, no matter how big they are, has got that down to it.
what are some tips and tricks that you have learned, though, through these brand partnership conversations and negotiations that you could pass on to other people who are listening?
So one thing I will say is that kind of know your worth and know your value, you know. But I do hate this thing that I see on social media and online. Everyone goes, know your value and add tax, you know, and it's like, whatever. Like, you have to do the work as well. You know, you can't just think, oh, by the way, I'm worth this. You've got to kind of actually be worth that. You know what I mean? And do your work, you know. And I believe that Swim Them are, you know, we're pioneers of this social swimming model. And, you know, we've done our work. We've been in the game for 7 years. So I think when brands do approach us, they need to know what they're approaching, who they're approaching, and come with the correct fees. You know, there has been moments, you know, quite recently where, you know, a brand came and we've worked with them before and it just wasn't right. The money wasn't right. And it was like, come on, guys, you know, we're worth more than that. You know what I mean? Like, give us that respect at least, you know? So that's all it is, you know. Don't be afraid to say no as well sometimes, you know?
And for people who are listening now saying, okay, but how do I know what my worth is? When you, as a representative of Swimlane Crew, are in a conversation with someone who holds the key to an account or like the bank account of a brand, what is the currency exchange? What does Swimlane offer them that they don't have and that they would want?
Right. So I think definitely if we're talking about in the swimming space, you know, I think for them, they working with us, they get this sense of like authority and gravitas, and it gives them license to maybe communicate and operate in a space that they otherwise might not have, you know, a hand in, you know. So, you know, if you're talking about, you know, some of the bigger swimwear brands that we know, traditionally, when you think of them and you think about who they're communicating to and you think about their target audience, it's not really people that look like us, right? So the value in it for them by working with us is like, okay, well, they can almost be a mouthpiece for us, for that audience, you know? And that's where the value is in it for them. So that's, if we're talking about a particular swimming brand, that's one side of it. But also, you know, we do work with like hotel chains and stuff like that, and we you know, we do swimming lessons, and you know, it's like, yeah, you can kind of get a normal you can get a traditional swim teacher or whatever, but I don't know, I think there's just a way that we kind of connect with the people that they're trying to communicate to, you know, as I know I've said that a million times, but it's literally as kind of as on a base level as basic as that, you know. It's literally like we're communicators, we're translators for them, if you will. You know, it's like, hey, we want to talk to those people over there. We can't directly talk to them without sounding like the dad at the disco and without sounding like, you know, tone deaf. Can you almost be like translators and the go-between between us and those people over there? You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
I think that's a great way of explaining it, because they're basically trying to reach out to an audience that they don't know how to talk to.
Exactly. So
Kind
we
of
are,
being an excellent wingman.
yeah, exactly. We're the wingman. We're the translators for them. You know what I mean?
Because they're trying to move to all these people, but they don't know what these people
Yeah,
like.
yeah, you can't move to them. You can't move to them. You know what I mean? So, yeah,
And what are some particular skills that you've actually picked up during your time in Swimline Crew? And this could be anything, we've talked about the brand partnerships thing, the more business side of things, but I can imagine, you going from someone who just wanted to swim to then actually teaching people how to swim, which is also a very physical thing, but physical activity comes with its own mental and emotional boundaries that can be crossed, and you need to learn how to not cross them. Can you talk to me about that? Especially because you guys are mixed, right? It's a mixed
yeah,
session. It's people who identify male, female, non-binary.
exactly. Yeah, we've got some. Yeah, yeah.
I'm really interested in that. Like, how did you then? You weren't schooled to be a swimming teacher, so.
No, but no. But the thing is, I did. So Nathaniel and I did put ourselves through school. We put ourselves through,
Yeah.
so what happened was actually, as Swimden was building and more people wanted to join in kind of the earlier stages, people started asking us questions that we couldn't answer.
Right.
We were like, "Yo, we're just swimming." So we were like, "Okay, we should go and put ourselves through school, so at least we can answer these questions." So yeah, we both went and done our level 2 swimming qualifications. So yeah, we qualified teachers now. Well, we have been for some years. But it taught me a lot of things. It taught me like patience.
Mm-hmm.
I think it taught me patience. It taught me patience, but equally it taught me that time and tide wait for no man, which is something that my mum would always say to me as a kid. But when you swim and everything like that, you realize the tide does not wait for anybody, and neither does time. Yeah. It taught me to stay in my lane and focus. You know what I mean? Just like as you know, on a practical level, you have to stay in your lane when you're swimming, right? On a practical level, if you start looking at the next man there, start looking there, you're gonna start veering, right? And I think that's life as well. You know what I mean? You got to learn to just stay in your lane and focus and look at what's in front of you. Be present. You know, it told me to be present. Be present. Look what's in front of you. When you start looking there, veering, you're gonna start swaying. You know what I mean? So it taught me that. It taught me again. It taught me learn by doing. It taught me just to just not be afraid. Just chuck yourself into it and let experience lead the way. You know, swimming taught me that. Or at least it made me realize that was a thing that I was doing anyway, acknowledge it. So yeah, it taught me a lot of things. And then, yeah, I guess just managing a business relationship with Nathaniel, managing a friendship, being, boundaries, not because I'm always on, I'm like, always like, I'm like, whoa. But then you've got to realize that people have got boundaries as well. You know what I mean? And then I got to realize, actually, P, you need to switch off and chill out and have your yoga time and do all of that. So it taught me that, and it taught me, a lot of just I guess the basic things of just, handling relationships in terms of professional relationships, as well as people, you got to realize this is people's moods. So it's teaching me someone might come to a session and might not be on it, and your job is to get them to be on it somehow.
Yeah,
that's your job. So it taught me that, trying to do that, or sometimes just know when actually don't push and just leave them. It taught me that. It taught me managing people's emotions and all of that, and just checking in on people. Yo, you good? You all right? I noticed that swimming this and this and that. Doing all of that. So it's a lot, it's a lot.
How do you get someone to trust you? Because if someone doesn't know how to swim and you're already, when you're in your teens and 20s and you don't know how to swim, you are also aware of what water can do and how powerful water can be. And I think that's what a lot of people are scared of open water, because you've seen movies, you hear the story, and also you're comfortable on land but you're not in water. So how do you get someone to trust you?
Great question. I think it's difficult, but I think how I get people to trust me is that that there's that age-old saying in it, you can't be what you can't see, right? And I think people have seen my journey in swimming and in water, so they've seen I've actually come from zero. I've come from zero to swimming 10K. So, and I've took someone else from zero to swimming 10K. So they can say, oh, you know what? I have to trust him because he's done it. He's actually done it. And not only has he done it for himself, he's done it for other people. So then that's how people trust me.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So now, fast forward a couple of years, everyone knows about Swimdom. I told you I was interviewing an amazing artist called El Heist yesterday, and she was saying how she's on a waiting list for Swimdom.
Oh,
Yes, just so you're aware, people are on the waiting list. And then, like, COVID happened. How did that impact your whole organization and the
yeah,
session?
it was mad. It was mad. So look, I was lucky enough that I had, I think I mentioned in here that I work in advertising as a freelance creative. And at the time, I had a job up until end of April. So that kind of kept me a little bit sane. But what really, really, really kept me sane during lockdown was the fruit business, Trap Fruits London. You know.
Let's get into that, because I think a lot of people hearing that, I mean, you said that in your intro, if the Wi-Fi didn't mess that up.
Yeah.
But where did Trap Fruit?
Where did that even come from? Exactly, great question. But you know why this is a good thing to ask? Because Trap Fruits London happened the same way Swimdom happened. You know, it never happened with the intention to start a business. It just happened with the intention of curiosity, excitement, jubilation, intrigue, all of these things, you know. It was a mixture of a culmination of all of these things, because my swimming journey just happened because, yeah, it was circumstantial. So I had to go and learn to swim to kind of get better, to help the rehabilitation. But as I started doing it, I started enjoying it. So it just became a thing that I enjoyed. And then Trap Fruits, it was a similar thing, you know. It was like, I'm gonna give you, how much time we got?
You've still got 24 minutes.
24 minutes, right. So I'm gonna give you the backstory, okay? So at the start of last year, I was practicing veganism for 4 months, right? As part of that, I went to go and see my friend, Lonnie Striver, and his family, because they're all vegans. They've been vegan for 5 years. His 2 kids are. So I went and saw him. We were chatting. They were showing me some foods and stuff. I tasted like borrowed bananas, custard apple, everything. Then I was fortunate enough to get flown to Jamaica on a Swimdom job with Nathaniel. So we went to Jamaica to work with Puma and Usain Bolt. And
Casual. Yeah, I do that all the time.
Yeah, that was crazy. And I tasted more of the fruit there. And I came back from Jamaica and I was like, nah, I'm addicted to this fruit. So I was going and buying custard apple everywhere. You know, I was going to Peckham and buying 1 custard apple for £5. 1 for £5. I need to go and check that guy and smile at him and say, bro, you know what he was doing to me, yeah? I was buying 1 for £5.
I respect the hustle, though. That's just
mad. So, and I was buying like multiple. It wasn't like I was just, you know what I mean? I was buying it for other people because I wanted other people to taste what I tasted and feel the enjoyment I felt when I ate that fruit. Like we would go on a Swimdom retreat and I bought custard apples for everybody, you know? Anyway, fast forward a couple of months and that same friend, Lonnie Strava, says to me, P, why are you buying 111 for £5? Why don't you buy a crate, like a wholesale thing? You know what I mean? If you like it that much. I said, is it? Okay, cool. So we went to the wholesalers, me, my business partner, Braggs, Bath, and Lonnie. We went to the wholesalers and, you know, we were just buying fruit for ourselves. We were high, chatting shit, just having a laugh.
So much swearing. Okay, yeah.
Sorry.
Continue. It's okay.
And, you know, without us even knowing it, that was a research and development trip in a way, because we came back off of that and that was like December, right before Christmas. We came back and then people was like, oh, get me some fruit, get me some. Like, oh, okay, cool. So then Braf made an Instagram. He put my face on it. I was like, why you put my face on it? He like Trap Fruits London. And I was like, I hate the name. And I was kind of, same sort of thing with Swimdom, because I was anti Nathaniel and Emily starting the thing. So I was anti like, what are you calling it Trap Fruits London? Why you putting my face? I was kind of anti at the start. And then sort of, I did an event in February, a vegan event where I kind of went, bought some fruit, spoke about the fruit and did all that. And then we got like 1,000 followers. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay, this is real.
Yeah.
And then, so I was like, okay, cool. So I just started pushing it. And we, you know, we all were just pushing it. And then I guess lockdown happened. And, you know, naturally that just accelerated everything, you know, because we weren't, you know, we were still working away in the background trying to like, you know, we didn't even have a logo, you know what I mean? We were just trying to like work away in the background. We weren't ready to launch, But COVID said, you ain't got time, bro. You better just crack on.
Time.
You better crack on. You better seize the moment. So it was a case of seizing the moment, and that really was my North Star, because it was an opportunity to get out and see people. You know, even when I was delivering the fruit, because I live alone. You know, that can be very lonely, especially in lockdown. So that was a saving grace, that I could go out on Sundays and do deliveries, and you know, it's distance, but I can still see people and see the joy that I'm bringing them by bringing them fruit, and then equally their joy is giving me joy. So I come back home and I'm charged, I'm energized again. I'm like, yes, you know, making people happy makes me happy. So I'm like, yes, I'm charged. I've got my energy again. And so that was it really. And then, so we're still even like fine combing certain things, you know, so people are really seeing live us working through it, you know, like the logo and the boxes and the branding, it's all kind of coming through slowly, you know, where I guess some people would have all of that in place before they launch.
Yeah.
We had no choice. We had to go, you know, we had to just start. So it was like, let's just start, let's try and build a customer base, and things will just kind of happen as they happen, you know what I mean? So that's kind of how we got here.
And if I buy my fruit from Trap Fruits London, what am I getting for my money, and also what am I putting my money into?
Great. So the thing about Trap Fruits London is that, let me say this. So sliding scale, yeah? There's a lot of fruit businesses. Everyone does fruit boxes, everything like that, yeah? Fruit and veg. Let's say this is a sliding scale, yeah? On this end of the scale, you've got the real exotic people, you know? They're saying, yo, this is a super exotic thing. These are kind of got, you know, medicinal benefits that's going to help you if you eat this. It's going to cure this, and you got those people right over there, right? This end of the scale, you kind of got the more bland, you know, basics, like let's say Odd Box or something like that. Sorry, Odd Box, if you're listening, but
no, sorry, no, not sorry.
Yeah, you kind of got the brand Odd Box. You know, it's quite a bland offering. You know, there's no excitement to it, nothing. You know what I mean? And I think these people here alienate you, because you're like, it's quite a niche, insular thing, and you're like, wow, this is overwhelming. What the hell is all of this stuff? These people here don't really excite you enough, because there's nothing really to get you going. We're trying to toe the line in between, the middle here. You know, we're trying to give you your British basics, but give you some sort of Africa, but open a door to the Afro-Caribbean exotic fruits. Not overwhelm you with them, but just open a door and be like, hey, here's a custard apple, try it. You like that? You can delve a little bit deeper. You know what I mean? So that's what you're getting with Trap Fruits London. You're kind of getting the blend of two. You're kind of getting the best of British, and you're kind of getting the Afro-Caribbean. And it's the blend of the two. That's what you're getting when you buy from us, yeah? And so the quality is there as well. You know, I can say that, hand on heart, the quality is top notch. We cannot be beaten on the quality. So that's what you're getting when you're buying from us. And then, you know, I think, like you say, you said at the start of the conversation, people kind of buy into an ethos or a mode or method or way of thinking. And, you know, I think for us, what we're not trying to say is, hey, you know, you've got to be healthy and only eat this, and this is only one way to live and strict way. No. We're saying, hey, do you enjoy yourself, live your lifestyle, but have a balance. You know what I mean? You want to go out, you want to party and do all this on the weekend, that's cool. But make a smoothie on a Sunday and during the week and nice up. You know what I mean? So that's who we are. That is our positioning. You know what I mean?
Okay. So how did you then go from someone who just went to figure out if you could find a crate of like wholesale of custard apples to now, where do you find your fruits? Who do you work with? Where does the fruit come from? And
So it's a mixed bag. So
with all the people who are buying, because it's not just, you can't just buy, it's not only the option of buying an Odd Box, you can actually get a subscription, right?
Yeah, you can get a subscription. Because I think for us, it's about a lot of the people that we see to be engaging with the brand are like, you know, creatives, people who've got busy lives, you know? So for us, two things, taste and convenience, you know? So that's where the subscription model comes in. It's about convenience, you know? I feel we're all busy. Everyone's busy. No one wants to go and eat Sainsbury's fruit or thingy fruit. That's dead, you know? You might be lucky enough that you live next to a Ridley or a Deptford or something like that. But actually, again, that's time kind of going and picking your fruit and curating your fruit. What we're doing is alleviating you of that stresses. We're curating this box for you that's going to be on your door. When you come back from the rave DJing, or when you come back from partying, or when you've come back from your yoga, or when your box is there waiting for you, curated, everything is there. You ain't not even got to think and worry. Everything is there, ready for you to go. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what we do.
And where do you get this from? Where does the fruit come from?
Okay, so all different fruits. So we've got, so we like I said, it's a mix of British and Afro-Caribbean.
Yeah.
So for example, you know, we have cherries in there, we have berries in there. It's seasonal as well, I must add. It is seasonal, so it's all subject to the seasons. But you know, we've just, reason why I'm citing cherries because we've just come off the back of like spring, summer, and cherries were a big hit for us. So you know, our cherries come from Kent. You know, most of our cherries and our berries come from the UK and Kent. Pineapples, Costa Rica. Mangoes, we usually.
But how do you find? Like, how does?
So
Don't talk about it like it's so normal, because I wouldn't be able to just find pineapples from Costa Rica and bring them to my friends.
No, you wouldn't. But what you got to realize is some of those pineapples you find in Sainsbury's or Tesco's or in supermarkets, yeah, it's got flown in from there anyway. But then what happens is it's in transit for ages. So by the time it gets to you, it's dead. The fruit is dead.
Yeah.
It's dead, because it's been in transit for ages. You know, it's sometimes unripe, all this stuff.
Yeah.
You're just getting the dead fruit. We're cutting that time down by like weeks because we're going direct to the man. We're going direct to, as soon as it comes off the plane, off the boat, we're there. We've got it.
Right.
And then it's in your box. So we're cutting out all of that transit, all of that up and down the country. No. As soon as it lands from the freight, we've got it. It's in your box. You've got it. So you're tasting that. You're tasting that Costa Rica straight away. Yeah.
So does this mean you can? Am I assuming you can only deliver to people in London?
Yes. At the moment, it's only London. We want to focus on London and build our customer base up from London. So, you know, we want to focus on that and nail London and before we expand. You know what I mean? I feel like, you know, when you think about someone like, you know, I know I've said them on Oddbox, for example, right? They're only just expanding now and, you know, they've been going for 4 years. You know what I mean? And they're massive, big operation, but they're only just expanding outside of London now, you know? So it's like, you know, I'm not saying, oh, let's look to what they're doing, but it's like, you need to kind of conquer home before you kind of then branch out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like if you were a DJ or something or an MC, you know, you go from your room to the youth club to the local park.
Yeah.
To then, you know, the local ends or whatever it is. Then you kind of go, oh my God, my first gig in Birmingham, my first gig in Brighton, and then you go. You know what I mean? So it just works in the same way, like a mushroom effect.
Where do you see both businesses, organizations, communities? Where do you see them going? Swimnim Crew and also Trap Fruits London, because that's really kicking off now.
Yeah, it is. It's taking a lot of my time at the moment. Where I see them going, I feel like I guess in an ideal world.
Where would you like to see them go?
Yeah, I think in an ideal world, when you mention the two things in terms of fruit and produce or swimming, I kind of want our names to be synonymous with that, right? So if you mention swimming, you have to mention Swindon in London. If you mention swimming in London, you've got to mention Swindon. If you mention fruit in London, you have to mention Trap Fruits London. That's what I want, you know what I mean? I kind of want that. Equally, I want successful businesses out of it, but I feel like, you know, that once you've got that, 9 times out of 10, it is quite, you know, you've made a success. Swindon, I think, is a lot more further in its kind of development than Trap Fruits. Trap Fruits is still in its infancy. You know, it's not even been a year. Yeah. So I think for Swindon, you know, our next thing is that we're trying to pivot to kind of scale it up and have like a franchise model a bit. So kind of have swim dems all around the country, you know, just like as in learn to swim models all around the country. And then, yeah, for Trap Fruits, like I say, I want us to conquer London first and see, because it might be that we only need to conquer London and we don't actually need to go outside of London. You know what I mean? It might be that conquering London is enough.
Yeah. And
we don't need to go outside of that, you know? So that'd be it. I'd want it to grow to the point where we can offer our friends and family jobs.
This is literally going to be my next question. Do you see it as a way of not just expanding a business, but creating jobs for people?
That's exactly what I want to do. You know, if you look at my little brother, he's 16 years old. Yeah. His first job is with Trap Fruits London. You know what I mean? That's his first ever job. So he's been like packing fruit. So every Saturday he comes, he's packing fruit. And, you know, he sends us invoices and stuff.
And you know what? That's funny because when you said that, when I saw your little brother in your flat just now, I just thought, this is, our parents are always like, you know, you never had to work like plucking fruit in the fields, blah, blah, but it's like actually.
Yeah, he's learning. But he's seen everything firsthand. So he's seen the pitfalls, the struggles, you know, when there's loads of orders, when there's not many orders, you know what I mean? It's like, because it's not every week that there's bare orders, or yeah, we've got subscriptions, but some weeks it's low, some weeks it's high, you know, so he's seen it all, you know what I mean? He's seen it go from a flat to now we've got a unit, you know what I mean? So he's seeing that and learning, hopefully that he's learning and absorbing that, you know what I mean? Yeah. Without me, you know, explicitly saying, this is what happens in a business, ABCD, like he's explicitly, without me explicitly saying it, he's kind of absorbing it, and hopefully, you know, that will kind of help and inspire and encourage him to go wherever he wants to do, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and like I say, he's learned how to do an invoice. You know what I mean? I didn't know how to do an invoice when I was 16 years old.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, you know.
That's amazing.
But he's doing economics, A-levels and all that, so he's going to be all right.
Plus he has friends, you know, he'll have little friends who can help out.
Exactly, friends that's going to help out. And so, yeah, it is about kind of, you know, being able to kind of offer up job opportunities for our friends and family, you know. That would be great. That's the goal, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know,
inviting everyone onto the table at the table.
Exactly. We all want to eat together, you know what I mean?
It makes me so happy, P. It makes me so happy. And what about the music, dare I ask?
What about the music? All right, cool. So what about the music? All right, let me say, you know what it is? I was thinking about this the other day. So I've got an EP that I'm about 60% of the way through.
Okay.
I was kind of giving myself a hard time the other day. I was like, fuck. I was like, oh, P, man, whatever. And I was like, hold on a minute, P. Do you know what you've done during lockdown? It's not been bad, you know. I've done the track with Munya, so Unknown P. We did a little track and the plastician. So I did that in lockdown. And then I featured on this track with an amazing jazz band called Amampala, and featured on that record. So that came out in lockdown. And then my P style. Let's talk about the P style. Like, wow, where do I even start with that? Okay. And so the P style was, right. So for anyone that doesn't know, I have, or anybody listening, I have a freestyle series on my Instagram called Peigh Asante.
Yeah.
Now, I started it 2 years ago because I had a massive hiatus. I had a massive hiatus in music. You know, I hadn't done music for like 5 years.
Yeah.
But I got made redundant from a job in advertising, and I was like, oh man, it just made me write again. For some reason, it made me write again. And how I started was like by doing the Peigh styles. It was just freestyles on Instagram. It was like testing out different flows, testing out how I sound on different beats, you know, just reintroducing myself, if you will. You know what I mean? Just so I'm not going in cold, dropping music out of nowhere. It's like, mate, where have you been for 5 years? You know what I mean? So I kind of did that for like a year before I even dropped any music, right? Anyway, so then what happened was the Peigh styles was a way to kind of engage people on my socials to let them know that music is coming, you know? To let them know that, yo, music's about to drop. So before this track with Amampala called All in My Mind, which is a track about me being an overthinker, it's great, you know? They're playing live instruments. It's an amazing track. So if you're listening to this, go and check it out. All in the Mind, P and Amampala. I was like, oh, I better do a Peigh style just to kind of get people engaged and let them know something's coming. So I get a call from Charlie Dark, who is the founder of Random Crew.
Yeah.
And, you know, Nathaniel kind of sees him, he's Nathaniel's mentor. And, you know, I see him as a Yoda. I call him Yoda. I see him as that.
I did a creative writing session with him last year that I still think about almost on a weekly basis.
He's amazing. Yeah. I call him Yoda, you know?
Yeah.
So he calls me up and he was like, yo, and this was George Floyd moment, all of this time. Yo, P, like, what's good? Like, you know, people need to hear your voice, hear what you're saying. You've just got this way of kind of like delivering stuff. And I was like, you know what? I don't feel like it. I'm not in a good headspace. Like the George Floyd thing really floored me. Like it really, really floored me. Like I say, I live alone and all of this stuff. So my mind was just going everywhere. But it was that call. And as soon as I got off the call with him, it was something in those words. I was like, fuck it. I was like, F it. And so that's why that particular Peigh style starts with, I couldn't find the strength to write rhymes, but I get a call from Charlie Dark. He said, P, better speak your mind. That's why it starts like that. Mm-hmm. So I thought, I'll just put a Peigh style out. And that Peigh style isn't just me about talking about Black Lives Matter. I was talking about my whole lockdown experience. So I talk about, you know, dating a girl at the beginning of lockdown. then lockdown kind of just, we break up or whatever. I talk about just eating snacks. I talk about, lockdown, just all I'm doing is eating snacks. I talk about Black Lives Matter. I talk about representation, like it all encompassing in this Peigh style. So normally a Peigh style I get like 1,000 views or whatever, and I'm happy with that. I'm like, great, 1,000 people have liked this and shared it, great. For some reason, this Peigh style just started taking off. Yeah. It was just off and off and off, and the views were going up, and I was like, whoa, what's going on? So much so that it was like, oh, I had to record this as a proper track now, because like Ezra Collective were involved. They were like, no, we love it. Their manager was loving it. So sorry, yeah, the beat was on an Ezra Collective beat. So I'm actually going to studio with them at the end of the month. Anyway, let me get back to the point. So
there you go, 4 minutes.
4 minutes. Their manager loved it. Everyone loved it. So we're like, okay, let's make it a track. So I was like, cool, I'm going to make it a track. But then I was like, do you know what? Why don't we raise money? Yeah. So why don't we raise money? So I put the track on Bandcamp, and in a week, we raised £500 for the Stephen Lawrence Trust. And so that was just a massive moment for me. I think the only sad thing was that it eclipsed the song that came after it, a week after it, in a way. So I was like, oh, damn, I didn't mean for that to happen, but it just, and life of its own. It took a life of its own. Yeah. So on the music side of things, yeah, I've been a little bit active, to be fair. You know what I mean? I haven't poured as much time into it as I'd love to, but I've been active. And like I say, I've got this EP there. I really, really, really want to finish it this year. I don't want it to be a next year energy. It's a this year energy. The working title is called In My Zone. The first track is done. It's called In My Zone. So I'm ready to just go with that in a minute. So yeah, that's kind of on the music front. So yeah, man.
The music is coming. And I think it's important also for people. I think that's what we've been saying from the start is everyone we're speaking to on a weekly basis, like, okay, you are actually active as a creator of the music that we consume. But a lot of these people, week in, week out, who have jobs or do things that maybe young people don't associate with the creative industry, they're still part of the scene.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. It's all part of it.
On the dance floors, or they listen to the same records that you and I listen to. They like to say they don't have to be two completely separate worlds. You can live in all of it.
I used to think like that though. I used to think I don't want to cross-pollinate.
Right.
I used to think I don't want to cross-pollinate, swim them with music or advertising this. I was like, I don't want to cross-pollinate, it will get messy. But actually, they all feed into one another.
And people like you because they know you from music, and then they see you do the sports thing, the healthy eating thing. They relate to you on that.
Yeah. And I realized that there was strength in that. So then I was like, it's fine for it to kind of, because they all feed into one another. So that's fine. And I think, for me, I'm just like a creative human being, and I just wake up and it's like, okay, what hat am I putting on today? Am I putting on the fruits hat? Am I putting on the swimming hat? Am I putting on the advertising hat? Am I putting on the music hat? You know what I mean? That's kind of what it is, It's just like, how am I creatively expressing myself today?
And it's more than creatively expressing, because I think, with all our speakers on You Can Sit With Us, everyone makes an impact on their local community in a different way. It doesn't have to be in a traditional education, like an education role. You don't have to be a doctor at the NHS. You can start up a swimming organization that really people will speak about 10 years later when you ask, how did mum meet dad? Well, actually.
That's it. And legacy. There you go. Legacy. It's about legacy. So back to that question about what I want from Swim Them, what I want from Trap Fruits.
You got 1 minute. You better give me the answer.
And I said I wanted them to be synonymous with whatever market they're in. Legacy. That's what all I want. I want legacy. When people say Peigh, they say Peigh, yeah, man, he did that thing or did that. But when they say Swim Them, it's like legacy, a long-lasting legacy. That is it.
Amazing. But you actually have like a little less than 1 minute. And I mean, I am already going to say goodbye. And we didn't get to this little part. I'm only going to ask you for one thing. Normally the homework list is multiple things.
Okay, all right.
You only have time for one thing.
Okay, one thing. So I'm watching, in lockdown, I watched a lot of food content. Yeah, so I watched a thing on YouTube called Bon Appetit. I watched Action Bronson's F That's Delicious. Yeah. I watched Chef's Table. I watched a lot of food content. I also started a playlist on Spotify called The People's Playlist, which was a collaborative playlist where it would be samples and examples. So people could contribute all over the world. We've got 500 songs on there. It's like 34 hours. And it would be, all the rule was you had to submit tracks in pairs and a sample song, an original song, and a song that sampled it. And it's great playlist. So check that out. Peigh on Spotify.
P, I want to thank you so much for your time today. It was really fun. I really enjoyed that.
Amazing. I enjoyed that. Thank you.
Where can we find you on socials?
Just Peigh on everything. Just type Peigh, you'll find me.